Oh no. Okay, I've been having this weird... Yeah, see? What the fuck? Like, some of the sound effects are broken on... What the fuck? So we're just gonna keep going a little bit. Just to see... if things aren't inextricably broken. But... Alright.
Hold it!
You say you don't know who actually issued the directive. Aye, that's right. All I can be sure of is that it was official. If it was from the prosecutor's office, that narrows down who could have issued it straight away. It wasn't me. I can now even say with certainty that it did originate from the prosecutor's office. What? There's no telling where it started. There's a fair chance it came from higher up the ladder. Basically. Or can I give you any indication of who was behind it? You can't be serious! All we can say for sure is that the order must have come from somebody in authority, I suppose. The likes of us on the ground, as it were, deny bother with idle speculation. We'll just get the job done. I still think this is how we're going to introduce the Asogi papers. So, Mr. Mitchell, you don't know anything about it at all. That's right. My only role in the scheme was as a scapegoat. That's right, isn't it, Governor? Some poor beggar had to take the rap for it. Alright, then who else did know about the plan? Not the first idea, laddie. My part in the whole business was basically just dealing with the aftermath. I wouldn't be surprised if there were other folk in the prison service who'd been given similar orders. So you don't know who else was involved? Aye, that's right. All I can tell you is that the night it actually happened and the person at the reins was Dr. Stevens. Dr. Courtney Stevens? Or Dr. Sith as she's known now? Why'd I have to get caught up in such a terrible business?
Hold it!
You don't notice anything unusual happening in the lead-up to that night? Oh, everything was unusual. Exception after exception. After all, it was the professor. The man had terrorized the country as never before with his crimes. To hide his identity, he was forced to wear an iron mask over his head. Hideous treatment. The fellow was surprisingly docile for someone who'd taken the lives of 5 of the country's nobles. Being the chief warder, I was the only person permitted to approach his cell. I can still hardly believe that I was duped by my own country. I believe you jumped from the window of the governor's office when the jailbreak was blamed on you, didn't you? Losh, Vigil. Can I apologize enough? No, Governor. I don't believe you can. It won't change what's happened. Good. Hold it against him. Even if he was just pawned in something bigger. What else can you tell us about the situation, Governor Caden? I broke. Negotiations. You already acknowledged that the orders came from the prosecutor's office to arrange for the man's escape. There must have been some sort of a negotiation. It's the only explanation. Aye, well, be that as it may, I deny ken nothing about that. About that. Witness stand is no place for telling what you don't know for sure. I can that much do. I can that much I do. And I presume you also know this. Not telling what you do know is a criminal offense. So you were just following orders, is that it? I'm afraid that won't absolve you of guilt here. A man was still killed illegally, even if he was a contempt criminal. He may very well be found complicit in murder, Governor. So that's what it's to be, is it? With the threat of conviction, you won't break your silence.
Hold it!
Did you carry out the plan in its entirety? Aye, I did everything I could at the time. As you know, Genshin Asogi was shot dead in Logate prison after the escape. Tell me, was that part of the plan, too? I instructed you to do it, jock out of the jail and nothing more. Can I tell you anything about what happened after that? Only. Personally, I believe his death was the last part of the plan.
Excuse me.
Mr. Vigil, something wrong? Yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir? He's saluting now? What is it? Some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Caden was just saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps? Ooh. Last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. Betrayed by my superiors, in the name of my country. Just as my father was betrayed, it seems. But you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Asogi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan. What makes you think that? Well, it just doesn't make sense, does it? Make the man admit to crimes he didn't commit with the promise of a jailbreak, only to kill him in the end. That's treachery of the worst kind. The point is, if the intention was always to betray him, why would there be any need for all the chicaneries of an escape? Yes, that's quite true. If whoever negotiated with Asogi never intended to keep his or her end of the bargain, it would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison as dictated by his sentence. It all happened in that vast chamber of secrets that is Barclay, behind the high prison walls. I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, it's an unsettling mystery, certainly. Truth be told, I have this a wee matter that's never quite made sense to me. Do you believe there was some kind of negotiation between the jailbreak, between Asogi and a body at the top? Does not quite add up, does it? Governor Caden, I must insist that you explain these doubts you have by amending your formal testimony. Gads! Come on, then. Think a bargain with. Admitting to the crimes, that was what he had to bargain with, surely. I could not see that myself. After all, did the prosecution not have conclusive evidence against the Carly, eh? This, you mean, discovered during the final victim's autopsy. There's every possibility this conclusive evidence was fabricated by Scotland Yard in the prosecutor's office.
Objection!
Possibilities are all very well, but nothing has been proven. You can all know about misconduct at the trial 10 years ago all you like. If we can't establish that it happened with hard evidence, no one's going to listen. Aye, that's right. So what I'm saying is, Corvick had nothing. Nothing he could use for any kind of bargain at all. Makes an astute point. Logically, it would seem no negotiation could have taken place. Yet the plan to break the man out of prison was definitely put into practice. So he must have been armed with something that gave him an angle to negotiate. So Asogi-san agreed to confess to the crimes because he was assured he'd be broken out of prison later. I really don't think that Kazuma-sama's father would have engaged in such negotiations. And perhaps something compelled him to agree. What a terrible thing, using the law to legitimize such underhanded dealings with a desperate man. And only to double-cross him in the end. It's quite the opposite of justice. You know what feeling? Something about this apparent negotiation that doesn't quite add up. It doesn't quite add up, Mr. Naruhodo? No, it doesn't. I can't quite put my finger on what yet. Well, in that case, you must keep digging until I identify the problem. Okay, so everything seems to be working normally now.
Objection!
Yep. Confessing under oath the murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison. Asogi was taking an incredibly risky gamble. Very true. It's a thing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man would stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that. Which means that Mr. Asogi must have had a trump card. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon. Oh, hammers! I feel like couldn't I possibly have anything like that? But you know that he did, Governor. The Asogi Papers, the name given to the last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. It made quite a, statement. Turns out that Mr. Asogi was hiding his will in his cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil caught him with it one day. You squealed, did you, you wee rat? Did I not tell you to keep that a secret? You can't touch me now. When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convicted cell, Mr. Asogi pleaded with the warder. All right then, what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A weapon? And after the convict had been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it? Well, yes. All the prison warders searched through the belongings in his cell, but the will was just nowhere to be found. As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asogi Papers. Governor Caden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find it at all costs, didn't you? Would I be right in saying that you knew that the so-called Asogi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow? Gangs, what the blazes are you blethering about? The will was found, right and proper, in the fellow cell where I said it would be. Slap. But how could that be? Where in the cell? Will, slap. Ow, we searched the place from top to bottom. Well, you did not do a proper job, yeah, you pity wally gallant. You can't criticize me now. I showed it to you before, did I know, you young lawyer? Yes, you did. I have the document here. It's in Japanese and it reads, The Last Will and Testament of Genshin Asogi. Which means everything is as it should be. Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here. What inconsistency? Asogi described this document as the only weapon he had left. And yet, this will contains nothing of significance at all. Nothing that would have given the convict any leverage. Are you suggesting, my learned friend? The last will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years is actually a fake. Ooh. Well read. As has clearly been demonstrated already, what went on at Barclay Prison was far from above board. Oh, that makes sense. They literally my initial response was, well, now that you've brought it up, Baroque, yes, but they're literally just contradicting themselves. They couldn't find it, but we showed it to you. That last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system. It's absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we have only the former Chief Warder's ward. This man could quite easily be lying, at the very least sorely mistaken. What? Slap! How? No! I definitely heard him say that, I swear! We have a lot of hearsay going on here. Clearly we need to get to the bottom of this. I need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Asogi papers. Waste of time! The will was fake. Where's the real document?
Objection!
Mr. Vigil was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything, very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. You need to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself. It's good that Barclay Prison is hiding something. That jailbreak was masterminded by somebody in the prosecutor's office. It's clear that some illicit negotiations took place. Is your lordship just going to gloss over these obvious reprehensible facts? Or what did you just say? That was a new camera angle in the courtroom. That's a really cool camera angle. Testify. Let me testify again. We should hear more from the Chief Warder. The trial must go on. The man's voice must be heard. It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then. Let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw of the convict's last will and testament. Yes, sir, my lord. Oh, we're gonna find it soon enough. Order responsible for condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Asogi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will from his cell. We turned the cell inside out after looking for it after the execution, but to no avail. Only found out about the Asogi papers when a directive came telling me to impound them. Barker was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cell. A kimono, I think it's called. It is kimono? That's a lie. Slap. We searched every inch of the man's cell. We looked through all of his clothes. It can't be true. Were you not satisfied with calling me a liar the once, you wee waffinger? Ha! There's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than the hold you'd like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do, is it? Look, I'm doing it for you. Right here, right now. This is what happens when you grab me by the cravat and shake me. Look at me go. Look at me gyrate my voluptuous hips. Are you going to give me a good shake again? Or are you going too scared? I'm so threatening. Ah, okay. Ah! See? Exactly like this, boss. Little and large. What a double act. My wife does it too. I find it quite attractive. We complied with the Asogi's will as far as was possible. All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer our country has ever seen. And we were much obliged. I can confirm that all my father's belongings arrived safely. Aye, and you cannot deny the handwriting is that the old man's, eh? Yes. There's no mistaking that it's my father's handiwork. Really? And this last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? I think we can safely say the convict was merely prattling, knowing his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense. Your cross-examination, please. Slap. Yes, my lord. Sound effects are being weird today. It's just this. Like, there's nothing weird going on with other Steam games out there. It's just this. I don't know, maybe I'll try uninstalling and re-downloading it. The Asogi papers.
Hold it!
So would that mean you conversed with Mr. Asogi? Yes, certainly. Though there was precious little time before his execution was due. He was remarkably calm, considering his days were very much numbered. In all honesty, he really didn't strike one as a man capable of mass murder. Yet he confessed in full to the crimes. I know. That's why I felt compelled to ask him one day. I can still recall his reply. I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life. Yes. He was so tranquil and intelligent, it put me in the mind of an Eastern holy man. What about the will you saw him with? What can you tell us about that? It was the beginning of all the drama. I remember it very well. Yes. Slap.
Hold it!
He pleaded with you not to report him, didn't he? Yes, that's right. And like the bump in your eye, you did not tell me. Blatant breach of trust that was. I could see that the man had a noble spirit. I found myself wanting to treat him accordingly. According to what you told us 2 days ago, convict had been strictly forbidden from having any writing materials whatsoever. Yes, you're quite right. So when exactly was the will penned? That was before the man was remanded in Berkeley, obviously. Yes, at the prosecutor's office under the supervision of the relevant authorities. First, they instructed Asogi to make a will for the benefit of his family and his homeland. In that case, who was it found in his cell? What do you mean by that? What was penned at the prosecutor's office? You'd have expected that it would remain there for safekeeping, surely. It's curious. There doesn't seem to be any obvious explanation for why it was subsequently found in the convict's cell. Oh, well. The defense makes an astute point. Well, Governor. The governor cannot be expected to keen to the inner workings of the prosecutor's office. Then, deny. In that case, Lord Strongheart, perhaps you can shed some light on the matter. I'm unable to offer an explanation here and now. I would have to consult with the notary responsible for the will at the time. Who is dead? He just dropped dead last week. Sorry about that. My father's will was discovered in his cell was clearly inconsistent with what was expected. I wanted to know why. Another inexplicable mystery, then. Well, the thing is about the will.
Hold it!
Someone knew he was writing it in his cell, then. It was the governor who ordered the search for the will, as I understand it. Is that right? Yes, when I reported back that we couldn't find it, he grabbed me by the cravat and yelled, "I could not have disappeared completely in my face." That was a good impression, boy. Well, they're doomed to the governor to keep everyone working as hard as they should. I think the governor needs a wee taste of his own medicine, Mr. Naruhodo. The point is, it was clearly considered a very important document, wasn't it? It had proved impossible to find. That's right. And before I knew it, it was in the morning paper. A blood-curdling article. The executed mass murderer who'd risen from the dead. Oh, you mean... The article based on Mr. Dripp's experience in Lowgate Cemetery. Yes, that was it. The day after I'd read that news, I was summoned to the governor's office. And that's when the awful accusation was made. That you'd aided Genshin Asogi to escape from prison, resulting in your immediate dismissal. I'm afraid I really don't remember anything after that. Unless the governor of the prison, I had no choice. I couldn't have done anything else. I imagine he is genuinely sorry. But Visual also is very right for not forgiving him.
Hold it!
That directive came from the same source as the one instructing you about the jailbreak. Aye. The top levels of the prosecutor's office. What name was on it? I did not ken before, and I did not ken now. I can tell you is that my orders were to do everything within my power to find that document. The doctor said it had to be somewhere inside this fella's cell. Document? Was that the wording? Document and not will? Aye, that's what it said. Am I clutching at straws here? Just wonder if it was really Genshin Asogi's last will and testament that was the sender the directive was after. Continue with your testimony then, witness.
Hold it!
Mr. Asogi's kimono. Aye, the one he brought with him when he was locked up. Yes, he was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand. That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before his execution. Indeed. He had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, that kimono, his sword. His sword? Arma, famous sword of the Asogi clan. It bears the soul of my family. I don't doubt it. I wasn't really getting to that. Forget it being the soul of the clan. Could the man have had a more obvious weapon? That's some respect, Ryunosuke. Respectful silence. Warders carry firearms at all times, and the inmates have shackles around their ankles. Could not have hurt anybody with that thing. Still, he was allowed a sword, but no riding materials. Aye. Wrote that wheel up before he came to stay with us at Barclay, you see. Dr. Mikitomo was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor's office. A Susuri inkstone, black sumi ink, and some Hanshi rice paper, no doubt. I wasn't present when he wrote it. I'm sorry to say, the letters just looked like a squirming mass of jet black earworms to me. Oh?
Excuse me!
Oh. Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil? Sir! Scarlet, sir. What? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Didn't mention them being to blurt it out like that. Oh? Less swag and more explaining. Using words would be helpful. Is there something about the testimony we just heard? Have you recalled something of importance? Something of importance. Possibly. Or possibly not. I'm able to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid. My lord, defense asked that Mr. Visual be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or possibly not important detail. Mission granted. Go ahead, Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Scarlet. Like, this has to be fake.
Hold it!
Scarlet, you say? He was doing, you say, a study in Scarlet. Well, yes, I mean, I only caught sight of it for a brief moment, of course. Even by the dim light in his cell, I remember thinking that it was an unusual color. At the very least, I'm quite sure it wasn't black. Witness? Is that really what you saw? What? Sir? Something wrong, Lord Strongheart? I apologize. Continue. That got a reaction. What do you make of that, Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Strongheart to be so visibly shaken in that way. Look, didn't I ever? Plainly see the writing here. It's as black as the other hell's waistcoat. Well, yes, you're right. Mr. Vigil, I'd like to confirm one point with you. Do you actually see the content of the document that Mr. Asogi was holding that night? Oh, well, no. I mean, there was no time. As soon as he noticed me there, he hid it behind his back. It was definitely a will, was it? Yes, it was. That's what Mr. Asogi told me. The court need waste no further time on this matter. We have the will in question in our possession. There's nothing more to add. Will written in scarlet ink. What did Mr. Vigil really see Cosmo's father holding, I wonder? An inkling Mr. Naruhodo is presented to the court at once. That testimony doesn't give much away. So this will was really penned by Cosmo-sama's father. I wonder what he could possibly have meant when he described it as a weapon. It's starting to sound very much like Mr. Asogi actually had nothing. The plan to break him out of jail went ahead. It means he must have had some bargaining power. He must have been hiding something. It's the only explanation that makes sense. It's starting to sound like Mr. Asogi actually might have had something. Which is it, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm not sure, but I feel as though I'm on the brink of understanding all of this. So let's listen to all the information again and see what more we can learn. Can't overlook even the smallest detail. Absolutely. How do we get to this conclusion here? How do we get to this conclusion? We definitely... Oh fuck, the autopsy report. Wait, Clint? What does this mean?
Objection!
Color-colored writing. It's what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil. I believe that's exactly what you did see. What? Lavis again! You've no evidence to say that. Have a look at this report. That's my brother's autopsy report. Yes, there's something in here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that scarlet-colored ink stains were noted on the fingers of the victim's right hand. Yes, so it does. Scarlet ink? I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit. Is it a guess that they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they? Your wit is not appreciated. Brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have sullied his fingertips, he'd have cleaned them immediately. What is your point, counsel? My point is this. Whatever Lord Clint Van Zieks was writing in that unusually colored ink must have been directly before his death. Because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand. What? I remember something troubled me at the time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open. But Clint was punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. No document penned in the color of that ink was in the inkwell. That was in the inkwell was ever found. The document had disappeared. Are you suggesting the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was the same document that Lord Clint Van Zieks was writing moments before his death? Then, was... If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that. Yes. Mr. Vigil. Sir! And he spotted Mr. Asogi with the document in his cell. His precise words were as follows, were they not? Right then. What's on that paper? A last will and testament. A last will, not my last will. This will is the only weapon I have left now. So they backstabbed Genshin and then tried to recover the will. Ah. Conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says. We now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asogi said. You really think? Mr. Vigil did indeed see the conflict with the will. It wasn't that of Genshin Asogi. It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks. No! What?
Objection!
Uh-oh. This is madness. My brother's last will and testament. That would mean that he had chosen to die. That is what it would mean, yes. No! Impossible! This is utterly out of the question. Lord Van Zieks. He was pursuing the professor. Consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigations before its conclusion. Never. He wouldn't rest until the job was done, or the killer was caught. The idea that he would willingly accept his own death, succeed.
Objection!
And yet, be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death. That Genshin Asogi came to be in possession of that document. So what could the will possibly have contained? Clearly something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning it prompted the powers that be to enact that daring jailbreak plot. Yes, there can be no question that the will contained information of the utmost secrecy. Information of the utmost secrecy. No, it could be. I've had more than enough. Pursuing this notion of a phantom world nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose. No, my lord. That's unacceptable. What did you say, counsel? The last will and testament that Genshin Asogi had in his possession was that of Lord Clint Van Zieks. All the testimony and evidence presented to the court has logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion. But with no possible means of knowing the contents of this document, there is no line of reasoning to pursue. How did it get out of the cell? Where is it now? Reason why Lord Clint Van Zieks, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Prosecutor Clint Van Zieks chooses death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate with a jailbreak of a condemned killer. Genshin Asogi confessing to all crimes, the only explanation that fits those facts. It's an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. But it's just too hideous. Mr. Naruhodo, however difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved to do when you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Zato. So hold your head high and keep soldiering on. Yes, you're right. 10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Clint Van Zieks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asogi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all probability, the details of the will were related to the professor case. The defense's last statement is mere conjecture. What are you getting at, man? Ryunosuke. As soon as these words come out of my mouth, there's no going back. I believe that the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks was in fact... You can do this, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe that what Lord Clint Van Zieks actually penned that day was a confession. A confession? Regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor. And his true identity.
Objection!
Objection. Enough, Counsel. What are you saying? Do you even realize? Confession with the true identity of the Professor. That would mean... Lord Van Zieks, I appreciate this must be hard to take in. But it's the only explanation that fits. The killer that terrorized London a decade ago and became known as the Professor. The man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy. Wasn't Genshin Asogi at all. No, can't be suggesting. It was in fact the man believed to have been the 5th victim. Lord Clint Van Zieks himself. It's finally open, isn't it? Pandora's box. The great Van Zieks family. They've been thoroughbreds in the British judiciary for years, and Lord Clint Van Zieks, who's a paragon of justice in the capital. But he was actually a mass murderer? A perpetrator of atrocities of the vilest nature. The general public ever found out. Law and order of the country would be finished. My brother. Oh, this is too awful. Oh, Lord Van Zieks. I wonder, though. Did he never suspect? Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Berg, Van Zieks is a brilliant prosecutor. Inconceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was. Order! Order! Order in the court! Lord Van Zieks. The Professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Tell me, did your brother own a dog? Yes. did. Balmung was a well-known hunting dog. We called him a giant. I don't believe this. When my brother would go hunting in the forest on the grounds behind my house, I always took Balmung. After Clint's death, the creature passed away too. Almost as if he was following his master. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of the jewel-studded collar around his neck. Jewel-studded collar? That's right. Sadly. Some years ago now, it was stolen by a thief who broke into the house one night. Jewel-studded collar stolen by a thief. It so happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London. How could you? There was an old emblem attached to the collar too, made of pure gold. B. It was topped with a small crown and bore an ornate capital letter B. What? Emblem bearing the initial B. Oh, by, you know it? It's the insignia. The Baskerville family. What? The Baskerville? Why is that name coming up now? Baskerville is the family name of my late brother's widow. The pure gold emblem was an heirloom which Clint acquired upon their marriage. There can be no doubt then, the collar you've described was Balmung's. And the insignia of Lord Clint Van Zieks' widow. There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. So you know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from its quarry, of course. It could equally have been from human prey. So is it true then? Clint Van Zieks really was the professor. Impossible. These Japanese are making it all up to exonerate their own. So in fact the person responsible for these murders of nobles and royals was a noble himself. That threatened to be an enormous scandal that would irrevocably destabilize British society. My father knew that, and was using it to negotiate his way out of the unjust charges brought against him. At the very last hour, those he'd bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil. Well, can you deny it, Lord Strongheart? 10 years have passed, and still now the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy believing that justice was done. That though his anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed. Very well then, you may have the truth. Tell me then. Tell me what Clint really was. Lord Clint Van Zieks was too pure of heart. When he became a prosecutor and went in pursuit of the black roots of crime, he drove himself into a corner. He came to the uncomfortable realization that to fight the most fiendish of criminals requires one to become even more fiendish oneself. Clint. The 19th century was a truly miraculous 100 years for the Great Britain. Indeed, the whole world. New industry, new technology, and with the birth of the Metropolitan Police Service, new law and order. Dazzling new developments meant even deeper shadows were cast on society. Water sullied by factories, air thick with noxious fumes and crime, growing deadly to fill the darkness. Lord Clint Van Zieks made it his mission to combat that darkness. As time went on, it slowly ate at his soul, until eventually it was consumed. It's ironic, really, and somewhat surprising, that the truth has once again been unearthed by a Japanese. Once again? What do you mean? 10 years ago, your father, Genshin Asogi, turned up at my office one night. Professor? Yes, beyond all shadow of doubt. You must issue a warrant to search his home at once. Don't be absurd. Man comes from one of our country's most illustrious families. He's a paragon of justice here in the capital. Yes, that's the point. That's why none of you British can see it. He's using his noble status as a diversion while he commits these atrocious crimes behind the scenes. Do you have evidence? Nothing definitive as yet. They keep an enormous savage hound on the estate. We need the full support of the judiciary for this. Or perhaps a member of the aristocracy. So a large family estate is a fierce guard dog. You know that's commonplace here in Britain. I'm sorry, but I can't possibly put Scotland Yard into this based on the tenuous accusation of a visiting student. So I turned down Asogi's plea. As a result, he took it upon himself to visit the Van Zieks mansion on his own. You can only imagine now what happened between the two men. Oh, we know the outcome, of course. Both Van Zieks perished. Leave this. So in actual fact, as Masama's father did, he made the late Lord Van Zieks meet the same fate. Permanent end to the professor. He compromised to a permanent end, professor. Taking the drastic measure of ending the perpetrator's life. There were signs of a duel. Genshin confronted Clint. Probably challenged him to a duel. They fought. Genshin won. As soon as I hurried to the mansion. When I arrived, it was easy to grasp what had happened. And? What about the will? Asogi must have already taken it. Nothing of that nature was found at the scene. He had no idea of the existence of such a document at the time. I was the only person who knew of the true identity of the professor. So, resolved to keep it a secret, and to guard the secret to the bitter end. So you're admitting to it? That you were behind it all? Was you, then? In the crimes of my father? I did what needed to be done in order to protect the law and order of the British Empire. Even if that meant employing an unforgivable ruse. So you who arranged this fabricated evidence. I ordered that detective to take care of it, whilst keeping the truth from him, naturally. Gregson. Obviously, he opposed me at first. Are you off your rocker? We can't do something like that. There's no question that it was Asogi who murdered Lord Van Zieks. The house staff have made statements there. They saw the man running for the mansion that night. Yes, well, I've no doubt it was that Japanese fella. We've got a shred of conclusive evidence against the man. Worse than that, he doesn't keep a dog. So we're short of a murder weapon to boot. And we're short on time, Gregson. We must put a stop to this man's rampage, for the good of the country. So I'll use whatever means necessary. Do I make myself clear, detective? Blow me. So that night, 10 years ago, when I was attacked by those thugs in the back streets, and Genshin's ring was taken, it was him, wasn't it? It was Gregson and some hired help. The detective handed the stolen ring to Dr. Wilson, who fainted the discovery from the victim's stomach during that autopsy. In the light of that decisive evidence, Mr. Asogi was found guilty of the charges brought against him. Over behind the scenes, he had actually already struck a deal with his accusers, in which he agreed to silently accept the charges. I just don't believe that part. As far as I knew the man, My father despised such underhanded dealings. It was extremely easy to make him comply. You see, he had one crippling weakness. What weakness, you? It's obvious. You, Asogi? Me? Perhaps you have no desire to return to your homeland, Asogi. What? Oh, I hear you have a 14-year-old son. Agree to cooperate and accept your guilt without contention, and you will see Japan and your son again. You scoundrel. Whether you choose wisely or not, it will be a closed trial by order of Her Majesty. Whatever rash claims you might make in court, we'll have no trouble in stifling them. There's only one outcome for you, Asogi. The gallows. Yet I still have a weapon at my disposal. But revealing a truth I know you're desperate to keep hidden. Yes, it hadn't escaped my mind. Which is the only reason I'm willing to bargain with you. I only want to protect this country's law and order, you understand. So, what's to be, Asogi? Katsuma. For me? As I told him at the time, my motive was simply to protect Britain from the damage the truth would do. Protect this country's law and order at any cost. Smug ass smirk.
Objection!
I never dared let myself even consider this possibility until now. In the light of all this treachery, I have to ask. The mastermind behind the Reaper of the Bailey. Is it you, Lord Mel Strongheart? What a brilliant idea, wouldn't you say, Lord Van Zieks? The spirit of your late brother, paragon of justice, should return to reap justice for his sibling. Could there be a more appetizing tale for London's masses, I ask you? What brazen? I knew that you'd play the part to perfection. But your role really wasn't that of some embodiment of death. No, you were London's guardian angel. An angel with bloody hands? I think not. Those who had cooperated with me already were only too happy to participate in my plan. Dr. Gregson, Dr. Wilson. My minions worked tirelessly to ensure that the finger of guilt could never come to rest on you. It's all thanks to them that you were exalted as the demigod the Reaper became. Dr. Wilson left Britain 4 years ago when he was invited to work in Japan. That's right. So I had to employ the services of his young protege after that. Dr. Courtney Sith. Dr. Sith. So what with the execution of the professor and the subsequent reign of the Reaper of the Bailey, I've successfully safeguarded law and order in our mighty capital for the past decade. That is everything. My lords, ladies, and gentlemen, I do hereby confess, it was I who sired the concept of the Reaper. However, I say in my defense, resolve for the preservation of law and order across the entire empire. Well, Strongheart did it. An unforgivable collection of crimes, but still, those who died at the Reaper's hands were rotten to the core anyways. It was all in the air to keep London safe. There is no one left now who can reveal the precise truth of what happened 10 years ago. Oh. 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 It's all out there now. See you next time.